I'm Kristen Best, and today at the Next Home Project House, we've been busy painting. And rather than leaving the paint in the garage forever, I wanted to recycle it so it doesn't end up in the landfill. I've invited Jeremy Jones from Paintcare to come by and tell us about this great organization and give us some tips on how we can recycle our paint. Hi Jeremy, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Kristen.
Paintcare, tell us, what is it all about?
Well, Paintcare is a nonprofit dedicated to recycling paint in 8 states and the District of Columbia starting this year. Before I joined Paintcare, I worked for a county government, and paint was persistently one of the biggest line items for our waste management department. I knew how expensive it was to manage unwanted paint from the public. And so when I had a chance to actually join Paintcare and work for Paintcare, I knew what a benefit it would provide to the community.
Let's talk about the importance of paint stewardship.
We think that paint stewardship is important, and it starts from when you buy the paint in the store. You plan your project with your paint retailer, and then you make the best use of the material on your project. If you end up with a little left over, then feel free to take it to one of our 700 locations in California. We'll be there for you if you need us. If you want to find the location to recycle your paint, Kristen, all you need to do is go to our website, find our site locator, punch in your zip code, and you'll be able to find a location near you. You'll be able to find what states have paint care programs. You'll be able to learn about what products we accept. And then we've got lots of other cool stuff for contractors and consumers to find out about what they can do with their paint.
Jeremy, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks a lot, Kristen.
The Paintcare organization brings together key partners to make the sustainable paint recycling program successful. And today I get to visit one of Paintcare's recycling partners to see how it all works. I'm at Acrylatex in Azusa, California, and I'm with Brian Britton, who's the founder and president of Acrylatex. Hey Brian, nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you, Kristen, and thank you so much for coming down for this presentation.
Our pleasure, I'm excited about it.
We are too. Well, Kristen, this is the first step in the process. We get started here by offloading the boxes that come in. We receive about 300 of these boxes a month that we process. We process about 40 boxes a day, which is equivalent to about 4,000 containers. So every day we have people taking them, sorting them inside, and we'll show you that in a minute, but this is our first process of loading the conveyor belt. Hi Kristen, here's some safety glasses for you.
Thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Brian.
Safety first.
Safety first for sure. So here we are in this area. It looks like you're sorting paint colors in here. Is that
Correct.
what's going on?
Yeah, this is our what we call our bulking room.
And how many gallons are coming through here a day?
On a day, we're processing between 4,000 and 4,500 containers per day, 5 days a week.
Wow, that is a lot.
That's a lot. Last year we did over 1.5 million containers.
That's incredible. Wow, well can we see how it looks? I mean, it looks like they're resting on top of a grate or something.
Correct. They're allowed to sit on top of the totes for a little while just to have gravity. We take a lot of care into getting most of it out. Then it's set aside to dry, and then it goes into the recycling process as well. So all the plastic containers, all the metal containers, all the lids are all recycled.
Nice, nice. Wow, this mixer is a beast. It's huge.
It's a big boy.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a lot of horsepower and strength to mix 275 gallons. We go up to 500 gallons per batch. So it does take a lot of RPM and horsepower to get that paint going and blending it all together. Well, we do custom tint. So we can change this blue into a darker blue or a greener blue or a redder blue. So we do custom tinting. Based on what comes out of the bulking room, the averages and the colors we sell every gallon of paint that we get in. So when we export, they love these blues and yellows and greens in other countries. We may not use as much of that in the United States. We like our earth tones and our whites and our pure whites.
Yes.
So those colors are in high demand, and they're actually the lowest volumes coming into the factory. This is where we fill our containers after it's been processed, ready to go. So we're filling 5-gallon buckets today. This happens to be Snow White Flat, which is our whitest white. This is one of our best sellers, actually the best seller.
Yeah.
And Swiss Coffee is another one, of course. Kristen, this is our one of our warehouses for the finished products. So we've just packaged the 5-gallon pails of the Snow White Flat we talked about earlier. So it would come into this warehouse and be stored. So we have customers throughout Southern California. Tag Out is our graffiti line.
Oh.
So cities and counties and parks and rec, they'll buy this product to cover up the graffiti, Kristen, we talked about some of the waste products that are brought in that I can't turn back into paint. So what we call a hockey puck.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, it's hard as a rock almost.
Sure is.
And so we'll take these, then we'll grind them up, shred them more or less, and into a smaller aggregate. And then we colorize the aggregate based on the color scheme we're trying to get. We have about 8 different color schemes. Here's one of our planters that we've done here. It looks like gravel. It acts like gravel.
It's amazing.
It's 100% recycled product.
Very clever out of this. I mean, who would have thought, except you?
Brian, thank you so much for this great tour. It was great to learn how paint was recycled, through the different steps and processes. It's been really interesting.
Oh, you're more than welcome, and we just hope America catches on to this idea and starts purchasing recycled paint wherever they can, whenever they can.
I hope so too.
I do too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I'm off to visit another Paintcare recycling center. I'm told the recycling process is similar at this facility, but they've come up with a different type of recycled fuel made from leftover paint. Let's check it out.
Hi, Marty Bergstead, Amazon Paint.
Hi, Marty. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Well, I hear that you have something exciting to show us today. We're looking and learning all about paint recycling, and then you have something a little bit different.
Yeah, we do some very interesting things with the paint you can't remake into paint.
Okay, well, great. Let's go take a look.
Okay. So this is our facility, and this is where we recycle latex paint.
What they're doing is they're unpacking the containers with the paint, bringing it to the line, then opening all those containers, deciding what color it is, if it's good enough to be reused, and where then it goes in the various totes here for good paint and bad paint. What we're doing here is we're blending the wood biomass with the paint material that we can't remake into paint and creating a fuel that's flowable and easy to handle, and that's going back into this bin here, which is going up to be waste fuel at a cement kiln.
So when you make it into fuel, who exactly is using it?
Well, it's used as a renewable fuel at a cement kiln, so they're using it as a fuel source. So, Kirsten, this is the heart of the quality of the paint that we make. This is our laboratory, and we make our paint to exacting specifications. We try to make the same paint time after time at all of our locations, and that's all driven by our laboratory and our specifications. Okay.
So what are some of the things that you measure in here?
Well, first of all, whenever you're doing anything with paint, you're going to do a drawdown to get that color sheet to know what you've got. Yeah. The heart of the process is using a spectrophotometer, which is measuring the color, the lightness, darkness, red, green, and blue, yellow of the paint. By having a specification for that paint, we can make the same paint every time, even though we're using recycled content paint as the feedstock. And so we scan, went off. Yeah. And so we scan the paint and make sure it's in spec. So based on the results that we get, we can use this chart to determine if it's too light, too dark, green, red, blue, yellow, and what kind of paint or tint to add to bring it into specification. We have a machine that reads the gloss if we're making a semi-gloss, and this is reading the glossiness of the paint, whether it's too flat, too glossy, and so we know what kind of additions we need to make for it. Okay. We check the pH, and we also do the viscosity, which is essentially the thickness of the paint. This is a viscometer, and what it's doing is it's reading how thick the paint is. And if the paint is too thick, we may have to thin it out. If it's too thin, we may have to add some thickeners to it. And thickness is one of the most important aspects of good coverage.
And how often do you check the samples, or how often do you bring samples in to check?
With every batch that we make.
Wow.
And we're making these specific colors. These are coming out of a much smaller subset of feedstock colors, and so we blend those together to make these various colors, using the specifications that we have for those colors to make sure we make the same paint every time.
So Marty, thank you very much for this great tour.
Well, thanks for coming out. We love showing you.
I loved it.
Okay.
That was a great day. I want to thank Paintcare for letting our Next Home crew tour these facilities and learn about sustainable product stewardship programs. I hope you'll join me in recycling leftover paint. It's the right thing to do. I'm Kristen Best. See you next time.